I yield to the gentleman. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Congressman Al Green and Judge Ted Poe, for organizing this special order to recognize National Domestic Violence Month. While I think I speak on behalf of all of us that we wish such a day was not necessary to commemorate, or such a month, it's important that we educate not only our colleagues but Americans on the tremendous challenges, the difficulties facing Americans who are dealing every day with domestic violence. Today, all of us stand up for the victims of those crimes, those heinous crimes, who too often suffer under the shadows. Just last week, I visited in Fresno the Central California Legal Services to announce a $500,000 grant that is to focus on victims of domestic violence in the San Joaquin Valley. What I saw and what I heard is a reminder of, sadly, what continues to occur throughout the country, because I've worked with these folks for many years. It's added burden today with the tough economic times we're living in that strain families, unemployment higher than it should be, unstable economic conditions, oftentimes mean higher stress and more incidences, sadly, of domestic violence. At the same time, we are reducing the kind of support at the federal and state level to provide for organizations that help these victims of crimes. So while more women and men suffer, and children under domestic violence, less support remains to help them. Congressman Judge Ted Poe and I founded the Victims Rights Caucus in 2006 to be a bipartisan voice for victims' rights in Congress. One of the major initiatives that the caucus works on is the protection of the Violence Against Women's Act, otherwise known as the VAWA. It was established in 1994 to grant funds for programs to state and local and Indian tribal governments. Today, this fund seeks to encourage the collaboration among law enforcement, judicial personnel, and public-private service providers for the victims of domestic and sexual violence. Another goal of this fund is to increase public awareness of the domestic violence and address the needs of these folks who are victims of sexual and domestic violence that occurs within our communities. This fund has been a source of much resource because it's been able to provide support for more victims to report domestic violence to the police, often one of the most difficult cases that our local law enforcement agencies will tell you that they deal with on a daily basis. They also provide monies for the rate of non-fatal domestic violence, and this has helped decrease violence in many areas across the country. It also has reduced the amount of acts of crime of killing an intimate partner. Last year, the decrease was 24%. Oftentimes, sadly, these domestic violence cases result in death. And while much progress has been made, obviously much more needs to be done. Crime victims, as has been said before, but I'll say it again, are our mothers, they're our fathers, they're our sisters, they're our brothers. They're our friends, and they are our neighbors. They are people that we all know of. They deserve our support. They deserve the vital services to help them cope during these horrific time periods within their lives. As the National Domestic Violence Month continues, let us all do everything we can to encourage folks to attend events, to recognize and honor those who are at the vanguard of trying to protect those who are victims of violence. Those good people who are out working in this areas like the Central California Legal Services Foundation. Those who are in law enforcement, those who are in our justice system, those who are in every way working in our communities to help those victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. Only through education and awareness will our communities be able to ultimately someday end this domestic scourge and respond more effectively to those victims. I want to thank Congressman Green again for his efforts, and Congressman Poe, and my other colleagues who have spoken so well today. Today's special order, let it be a call for all of us to action, to continue advancing the rights of victims across the nation, and to protect the Violence Against Women's Act. I yield the balance of my time.